So I want to share from Rabbi Eliyahu Jian. He says that you have to be very careful about your promises. You should only make promises if you are actually able to keep them. And you should also recognize that by keeping them, you will actually feel good about yourself. He also says, every time you think, how can I get for free? You're a slave. But every time you think, how could I earn this? Like, how could it belong to me? That's the king and the queen. There's this woman, ksenia Lila. She says, and I think that's her healing name, her healer name. She says, can anger be destructive? Surely, if anger is not fully felt and acted on, it's stored in the body. And when triggered, anger will erupt uncontrollably in a hurtful way. But anger is not wrong. It's a natural property of the body-mind system, which ignites your power to keep life going. Original anger is actually pro-life. And then I want to share from the Zohar. It says, then they knew and saw the holy mirrors. Their eyes were lit, and they were happy to know and to hear. Hence, the Holy One, blessed be He, wrapped them with cords made of letters from His holy name, so that the serpents could not control them and would not defile them. Another section of the Zohar says, the mother and father must supply all the needs of the daughter before she's wed. After she's been joined by her husband, it's for him. After she's been joined by her husband, it's for him to feed and give her what she requires. Another interpretation is that when the daughter is in her mother's home, her mother cares for all her needs every day. When her husband marries her, he gives her what she wants and satisfies her needs. And the Zohar also says at the end of the exile, there's no man among the wicked of Yisroel, the mixed multitude. Because of that, the coming of the exile, the bores all the way to the great abyss, and the faithful shepherd comes down there. To home, abyss, backwards is ahavas, death. Death is poverty. The fourth exile is a generation of evil people filled with snakes and scorpions. They're scoundrels who have uprooted the sage's words and given false sentence. I want to share that from Rabbi Kamman at a Chassidis class in the shul of Chevra of Yisroel. He says, we learned that the eternal golden era to come will be lasting forever with no armies, no weapons, no surviving, no protection. Because after this spiritual, physical war, where either you're on the side to fight for Hashem's eternality, the light and the oneness, or you're on the other side, the ego, to fight darkness and separation, to be on the side of darkness and separation, God forbid. The rebbe, the Lubavitcher, actually says that the swords will be turned into plowshares, and which means that all that fighting energy will be redirected to creating, beautifying, original contributions, offering new energies and systems, like they had new numbers come out and ways of organizing letters and mathematics and expressing the infinite, the wondrous. And we have to remember that light bears the characteristic of the emanator. So remember, if we're on the side of light, everything that's light bears the characteristic of the emanator. So the radiation has the quality of the radiator. So by taking in the light, we become the light. We become radiators and emanators. Taking in the aura takes in the aura giver. So the giver's giving of the light contains in the light the desire to receive the light. So I wanted to think about all the people that supported me. Now I feel I'm able to support people in certain ways. So I thought about it. What personality qualities make it that I'm a good fit for peer support work? So I thought dedication, warmth, leadership, humility, creativity, solution-oriented, integrity, honesty, sincerity, compassion, wisdom, and loyalty. And these are things I got from the people that, nurtured me. Next, I want to share from a 12-step meeting I went to. So I thought, I'm ready for emotional intelligence, which is EQ, emotional availability, emotional fulfillment. This is health, where there's no shame, no lies living in me. And the keys to the body that's opening for a man would mean first the mind and the heart and the soul first, right? So I'm learning about myself, this need for emotional bonding, this emotional availability, emotional intelligence, for me to actually open up myself and have an open mind, open heart, and open body to such a person. Open energy field, like presence. So in the 12-step meeting, I was like realizing, I had to share that, I ran. I was on the beach and I started running. I miraculously ran. I was running from somebody I felt trapped with, and not physically. It was an emotional energy that was releasing, like that anger, like run a fight or flight. So instead of fighting, I was flighting. I didn't feel appreciated and loved, but I felt like I used to wish he would come on his own, but he never did. I gave up because I felt I stooped so low, and I should have invited him to rise. It was really me probably angry at myself for degrading myself. I lowered my standards. I was worried that I would have to be a good partner. I forgot he also needs to want to be a good partner. and I gave him up to God. I cannot force love. There's no coercion when it comes to spirituality. And I was feeling really lonely, but, I want that soul level love with God's love. And I realized Hashem will send me and does send me people, support, different kinds of connections and opportunities. Rather than me needing to hyper focus on earning love from someone who cannot love me, I learned that a core wound life lesson, that being useful does not mean and doesn't guarantee that I'll be loved. Being loved doesn't even require me to be useful. Next, I want to share from a talk I had with a man named Shlomo, that the Torah says she's the tree of, it says the tree of life. She is the tree of life, Eitz HaChaim Hi, versus death, which is the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? It brought death in the world. So we actually have to choose where we get our information from. We always have a choice, especially when it seems like we don't. Knowledge could be a false certainty for control, rather than the truth. It's a fallacy that people think uncertainty leads to death and that the truth hurts. Rather, the truth leads to true happiness. And the uncertainty leads to real control, because you could let go. And, there's an Instagram account, gnosis.way. So I was learning that there's, we learn a lot. Those of us who are interested in Kabbalistic Jewish astrology, kosher astrology, we learn about how each of the planets have different ways of showing up. So Mercury is how the mind works, how we process information, communicate, solve problems, and make sense of the world around you. People sometimes only look at their sun, their moon, right? So here, it's good to look at also the Mercury and the Pluto. The Pluto shows where your deepest transformation happens. The area of life that keeps asking you to let go of who you were so you can become who you're meant to be. The descendant sign is, most people think it only describes their ideal partner, but actually reveals the qualities you're here to develop through every relationship you build. So I'm thinking of my ascendant sign. The descendant would be the opposite, right? So like South Node is opposite to North Node. So my North Node, let's say, is Capricorn. So that would mean, let's say, the opposite of Capricorn. Okay, Google, what's the 6-month mark after Capricorn? Okay, Google, what's the opposite sign astrologically to Capricorn? Cancer. So my South Node, which is this one, it says, South Node explains what comes naturally to you, the patterns you've mastered, the habits that feel safe, and the comfort zone that's hardest to leave behind. That's Cancer. And my moon is actually Cancer. It's very interesting. Okay, Google, what's the opposite sign to Sagittarius? So descendant is Gemini for me. Ideal partner. But actually, it's the qualities I'm here to develop through every relationship I build. And it's interesting, I attracted a Gemini person into my life recently who is amazing for me to talk to. So special. Okay, 8th house reveals where life changes you from the inside out. The experiences that don't just shape your story, but transform the person telling it. I wanted to share 2 more things. So first of all, the secure relationship on Instagram said emotional availability looks like a few things. First of all, because I mentioned emotional availability, looks like peaceful presence. I'm here with you. Making space, which is distraction-free for depth. Emotional validation, your feelings make sense. Comforting instead of convincing. Being authentic, which is even about limitations. And sharing vulnerability, which is an internal experience that you're having. You share externally. Okay, so I wanted to share the last thing, which is that there are some things which are like ways of getting information beyond the physical world around us. And I mentioned a little bit about astrology, and the Zohar teaches us a little bit of interesting in how maybe, our emotions and, we could really go deep inside of it, but there are some ways which are considered more like divination. So occult just means supernatural, mystical, or magical beliefs, practices, or phenomena. And it's like mystical, right? Mystical people are interested in the occult. There are a few ways in which we could say, we could have other types of intelligence besides emotions to really get in and understand and a mastery. So there's something called chiromancy or chiromancy, chiromancy. This is a prediction of a person's future by interpreting their hands by their palm lines. Then we have physiognomy or physiognomy or something like that. It's reading people by facial features or expression, especially when regarded as indicative of character or ethnic origin. And then we have claromancy, which is divination that relies on casting lots, like a raffle. And it involves interpreting patterns, markings, and landing positions of the thrown objects to answer questions, seek guidance, or reveal godly will. So in interesting ways in the Torah, there are ways in which this is okay, certain times. And the Zohar talks about reading people's faces, and they talk about lots in reading God's will from this lights and reflections, the Urim V'Tumim. And we know that the palm line, some people say, is room for in Torah. So I just wanted to share that there's like these interesting ways of learning, which are not always so clear. And sometimes we have to be careful over there because we don't want to go in the wrong way. We don't want the false information. Like I talked with Shlomo, actually sometimes living people transmit living Torah. So sometimes we'll get our Torah from living people rather than from looking at people's faces and their hands and trying to find the secrets out. Sometimes we just have to see who Hashem sends to tell us His will for us. I'm going to stop here and wish everybody all the best. Bye-bye.